Well, a wonderful good evening to you all out there, everyone. I'm, as you know, Jack, and with me, as always, my wonderful counterpart.
Hello. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is keeping well. Hopefully, as we always seem to be starting these live streams now talking about the weather.
Always the weather.
I would like to point out that it is quite miserable where I am today.
Is it? Ooh.
It's been a bit on and off.
Well, tell you what, breaking news, it is sunny in Swansea.
My goodness.
There's actual sun in Wales, goodness me.
No, sun in Wales?
Anyway, enough blather. Couple of little bits of admin, as always. So, as always, I like to show everyone the link to join the website where we host these, which is bit.ly/Technoclubs. That link in particular is very important because we have our Technoclubs are starting back next week. So, beginning next week, the end of half term, we will have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday Technoclubs back again. And if you haven't signed up for those already, you need to go to bit.ly/Technoclubs. And let me pop that link in chat, where you will be able to see the join up link there. And we've got some great things planned. We have, well, I'm doing a little bit of Make Code Arcade, where we'll be making RPGs, and Dan will be doing a little bit of computational thinking and a little bit of Scratch alongside it. So,
absolutely.
If you haven't signed up for those already, don't forget to. You won't be able to join if you haven't signed up, even if you've already been. Basically, yeah, sign up.
Yes.
I've also got another link for everyone today, and there's a new one. I've been working on it in secret. If I go ahead and paste that link in the chat right now and share it on my screen, we have a new page on the website, and this page, the Watch Live page, allows you to watch the live stream as we do it. This is a live feed, but also you'll notice that it's got some buttons along the bottom. Slow down, speed up, that's cool, and type a message. And if you want to send us a message during the live stream and you don't want to use the YouTube live chat, you can use this, and it doesn't require sign up or anything like that. That's just another way to get in touch with us. And you can even send a message when we're not live, and we'll take a look at it for the following week. So that's there. That's on the same URL as bit.ly/Technoclubs. So if you want to send a message there or just communicate in general, that's the place to go.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's all the admin done.
Admin done.
Admin done. I had a good friend called Admin Dunn. Anyway, oh yeah, schedule for this week. We have nothing on because it's half term. Remember, everything starts back next week. So, as you can see on that schedule, today we're doing a little bit of Minecraft Education Edition. So if I load that up right there, lovely jubbly. So, for those of you who are in my Techno Club for the last term, a couple of weeks back, you might be familiar with what we've done in Minecraft so far. What we're going to do today is all the stuff that we weren't able to do in the Techno Club because of permissions. We're going to do all the stuff that requires extra permissions, and essentially it's going to act a bit like some old-fashioned Java mods, but we'll get into that in a bit. So, Dan, I believe you're going to take us through the first mod. Do you want to tell us what it's all about?
Absolutely. So, as I'm sure a lot of you who are familiar with Minecraft know, upon doing a little bit of wandering and exploring different worlds, it can be quite easy to get lost, unless you, of course, are quite familiar with your surroundings already. It can be quite easy to just get lost in a Minecraft world. And so one thing that we thought that would be particularly useful to know about is a Minecraft mod which allows you to save your current location and basically allows you to instantly warp back to it using a simple command. So this means that you haven't got to remember things like coordinates or remember, exactly where you were. You can simply just type in a simple command, two simple commands in a way, and easily teleport back to where you were, or to the place that you have saved. And we can do this using the code builder.
Excellent.
So,
can I just say,
of course, yeah.
Believe it or not, it was programming a warp mod or a teleport mod that first got me into computer science. It was one of my first things I ever programmed. So a little bit of nostalgia for me. Of course, it's much easier now. We've got the education edition, but you said code builder, didn't you?
We did. I did. I did. So the code builder, we can do a little bit of coding. It's only a few blocks. It's not many blocks, but it can be a very, very useful facility. So, Jack, I think what we'll do is if you open up your code builder,
no worries.
I will take you through the algorithm that we can follow.
So for those following along, code builder is, if you're on a computer, it's C on the keyboard, or if you're on iPad, it's the little agent icon up in the top corner. But yeah, the first thing we do in code build is we always start a new project. I assume that's what you want me to do.
Project. Yes, absolutely. Start a new project and save it. Call it something meaningful, so that we can remember what exactly it is we're building. And like I said, we're going to be constructing an algorithm today, which is a set of instructions which our computer, or I guess in this case our Minecraft character, is going to follow in order to teleport from a place that we'd like to save within the world. So before we get started, Jack, have you managed to load up your...
Yep, I'm all ready and raring to go.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll go through the algorithm together and I'll explain each part of the algorithm as we go, so that everybody can keep, anybody who's following at home has sort of an understanding of what it is that we're doing.
Okay.
So I'm going to be building along here as well so that I can keep myself reminded. So the first thing that we need to make sure we have is, I'm sure you can probably see that there are two blocks on the screen currently, both the onStart and onChat command.
Mm-hmm.
So the first block, we are going to keep both today, and the first block we're going to work with is the onStart command.
Okay, I'll just move this other one out the way. I'm not deleting it, I'm just getting it.
Just get it out of the way. Excellent.
Out of my face.
Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is create a variable which is going to hold something known as an array. So to go through that terminology to begin with, a variable is you can think of it as a slot of storage or a slot of computer memory that's going to hold a particular value. And in this instance, it's going to hold something called an array, which you can kind of think of as being like a list of different items. So you could say list, and you can put anything inside of it.
So we're going to kind of make a box using the variables panel on the left. We're going to kind of make a box, and that box is going to store a list for us.
Absolutely. So we're making a box, which is going to be our variable, and inside of that box is going to be a list And to start with, that list is going to be empty.
Do you have any recommendations for what I should call this box, this variable?
The best practice is to always call it something meaningful. So, I mean, it's going to be holding our position, I guess, in the long term that we wanted to save. So you could call it something like warp position. You could even call it position, world position, just anything that's meaningful that you can remember exactly what it's going to be holding.
Okay, I'm going to call mine list of positions.
That sounds good.
If I can spell position, which is it's 50-50 whether I can spell position or not. I think that's right. So list of positions. There we are.
There we are. Excellent. So in that case, you should now see a list of blocks have appeared under your variables menu.
Exactly.
And the one that we're going to choose is the set, whatever you've called your list. So set list of positions to 0 block, and we're going to put that inside of onStart.
Okay. So when we first press the big play button, the first thing it'll do is it'll set list of positions to something.
Absolutely. Now, of course, at the moment it's setting it to 0, just the number 0. We don't want it to do that. We want it to be able to hold a list of the positions that we're saving. So we're going to do that using something called, like I said, an array, which, like I said, is just a list. Okay, it's a fancy word for a list. So under the Advanced button, which you can see on the left, if you click on that, you will get a drop-down menu, and one of those options will be arrays. And we can select that, and a whole list of an overwhelmingly large list of things appears. But what we want is the tiny block that just says empty array.
Third one down.
Third one down. We're going to drag that out, and we're going to put that where the 0 currently is in our set list of positions block. So we're going to be, just to recap, when we press that green button, that green start button in the bottom right, it's going to set our list of positions variable to an empty array. So to an empty list. And that is all we need to do with the onStart block.
Marvellous. So is there any particular reason why we're making this list of positions, at the start?
So the best so we need to, every time that we run this particular bit of code, it's important that the list has to be created before we can put anything into it, essentially. Yeah. So without creating a list, it'll be impossible for us to save the positions.
Exactly. You can't put a pile of books into a rucksack if you don't have a rucksack.
Exactly. So it's important that we make the list from the beginning, and that way we've got somewhere to store all of these positions that we want to save.
Okay.
So the next thing that we can do is actually start programming some commands which, when we run them, will save the position that we want to save, and also we need to create a separate command which will ensure that we can warp to that position once we decide to do so. So that's 2 different commands we're going to make now, one to save the position and one to allow us to actually go to that position. And so we can do that using onChat command.
So we can use the one that we kind of left to the side, can't we? So
absolutely. And what I would suggest, since we do need 2 of those, is I would right-click on it and duplicate it. So right-click and duplicate so that we have 2. Now don't worry if it looks a little bit grayed out. It's just because currently 2 onChat command blocks have the same name, so we'll fix that later on. But I would right-click so that we have 2 different onChat command blocks, and both of those are going to be doing different things.
Marvellous. I'm just going to pop this kind of checkered yellow one out of the way for now.
Absolutely.
But it's
okay.
there.
So, the first block that we're going to produce is going to be the command that we run, which saves the position that we want to actually save. So the important step to start off with is that we actually give our command a name. So where it says run currently, we want to change that to be, again, something meaningful that we'll understand exactly what it is that the command is doing. And it's something that we need to also remember so that we haven't got to keep going back to the code builder to check what we've called our command when we want to save a particular location.
So this is what the user, the player types when they want to save their position. Want to save maybe their home or their mine or something like that.
Absolutely. So calling it something meaningful, we could call it something like what can we call it? Again, we could call it save position, or we could call it. Do you have any suggestions, Jack?
Oh, I was thinking of save position or save my position, but
yeah.
I thought if I'm going to be typing that a lot, that might be a bit long. So I'm just going to make it like something like save pos.
Save
pos short for position.
And have you written that, Jack, in Camel Case by any chance?
Oh no, I've written that all in lowercase.
Okay. So a bit of programming top tip for anybody who's started doing bits of programming at home as well or at school. There is a thing called Camel Case, which is where a lot of the time computers, I guess you would say, Jack, they don't really like spaces always, do they? In file names and in variables, things like that.
Computers really don't like spaces.
No. So what we do instead as computer programmers is if we have a variable name or a name of something that has got more than one word, we can either separate the word using the underscore character, or we could use something called Camel Case, which is where the first letter of the second word is a capital. And that way and the first letter of the first word is a lowercase letter. So that way you can easily distinguish where the word starts and where the second word starts.
So it looks like the humps on a camel.
Absolutely. Okay, so now that we've got our on-chat command and we've actually given it a name, we need to now save our existing position, the position that we want to save, to our array that we've just produced. So going back to that arrays menu again on the left, there is a block, and it's under the modify heading, and it's called list add value to end. And there's just kind of like a blank circle or blank oval in the middle of it. We're going to put that block, it's the second one down under the modify heading, we're going to pop that into our on-chat command block.
Marvellous. Although it's throwing a wobbly. It's not happy with that.
It is throwing a wobbly. It's not happy. And the reason it's not happy is because at the moment we haven't actually got something called list. There is no variable called list or array called list. And so we need to click on that list block and change the list that it's adding a value to the one that we just created in our on-start block, which in this case for me is list of positions.
Same for me, and yeah, that error's gone away now.
That error's gone, excellent. So what we then need to do is actually tell it what we need to save to the end of the array, or to the end of the list. And so we want to, of course, save the player's world position, so where you are in the world at that given point. So we're going to do that by going into the player menu.
Oh, let me find that. Yep.
And there's a block in there, I believe it's the 7th block down, player world position. And we want to pop that inside of that blank oval. So it now should say the name of your list, add value, player world position to end.
Marvellous. So presumably what it's doing is every time I type save pos, it's saving my location, it's adding it onto the end of the list of positions.
Absolutely, that's exactly
So
what it's
if
doing.
I type save pos 5 times, I'll have 5 things in that list.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So now we have got a list. So to recap what we've got so far, every time we start to run this particular piece of code, we're generating an empty array or an empty list. And every time we type the save pos command into our chat command menu, which we'll get to later on, we are going to save our current position in the world to the end of the array that we have just produced. Now, currently, however, that's all we can do. We can't actually get back to that position that we have saved within our world. So we need to now generate another on-chat command, hence the second block that we duplicated earlier, which is going to be a separate command, which when we run it, it will teleport us to a position within the world that we have saved to the to our array.
Before we get on to the complex stuff,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it might be worth testing out whether this works or not, the save pos?
That's a good idea.
Is it also worth kind of letting the user know that it has worked somehow?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing that we'll do in that case is we will build up a quick, I guess you'd say a quick algorithm, another quick algorithm, which is going to act as a test block, so to speak. And then we'll also add in a feature which will allow us to see whether or not the position has actually been properly saved to the list as we intend it to. So I think the easiest way to do this would be to generate perhaps another on-chat command block so that we've got kind of like a test command block. So duplicate your on-chat command block again. So we should have 3 in total now. And I'm going to call the new one that I've just produced test, because that's what it's doing. But again, you can call it whatever you like. But again, make sure that it's something meaningful.
Yeah, I've called mine test as well.
Excellent. Okay. And one particularly common thing to do in computer programming when you have an array is a lot of one of the key kind of features of an array is that you can cycle through all of the elements of it. So you can actually go from the start of the array to the end of the array using something known as a loop. And now we use looping very often within programming to repeat a bit of code over and over and over again without us having to keep typing in the same command or keep running the code once, twice, 3 times. We can actually build in a loop to our program which will allow that piece of code to run numerous different times. Now, what we're going to use, or the loop that we're going to use for our test command, is a for loop. And for loops are commonly used with arrays because you can actually tell a for loop to run from the first element that's saved within the array right the way through to the end, to the final element of the array, without using basically very, very simple code, and it just understands that it needs to go from the start through to the end.
So is it the for element one, or is it the for index one? There's 2
well, in
type
this
for loops.
case, we're going to use the for element
Okay.
loop, and we can keep that value because that's just acting kind of like a variable, which is going to signify something known as the index of our particular array that we've produced. Now, an index can be thought of as kind of being like the position of the element that we're referring to within our array. Now, every single item that we put into our array is going to be assigned to a particular place. And the places, those particular places that we're storing elements, are numbered from 0 up to the number of items that we choose to put in the array. And there can be hundreds, thousands, depending on your computer memory. You could put millions, billions of items into a list, but they all start at 0 and not at 1. So the first element within an array is going to have an index of 0. And so that value, in this case, is going to be the position of the elements that we're referring to within the array. And of course, at the moment, it says of list, but we want that to be set to list of positions, which is the list that we are actually referring to. And what we want our test command to do is actually say what the value is. So in this case, it would be value in this case, because that's the name of the variable. So we're going to use a block from player, which is the third block down, which is the say block. We're going to pop that inside of the for loop. So make sure that it goes inside of that for loop and not underneath it or above it. It has to be inside of it.
I've got it between the two green spokes or
absolutely
arms.
And we're going to put, instead of the smiley face, we're going to go into our variables menu and we're going to add the value block. So it's probably maybe the third one down, perhaps.
Yep.
It's on mine. We're going to add that inside of where the smiley face is instead. So to recap on what this block is doing, because I can understand that it might sound a little bit confusing if you've not used lists and things like that before. But what we've produced is an array, or a list, you could call it a list as well in this context. Every single thing that we store in that list has got a position. So you can think of an array as being made up of a series of boxes, and every box has got a number. They start at 0 and work their way up to however many items are stored within our array. And what this for loop is doing is it's going to cycle through all of the elements within our list of positions. And every time it does that, it's going to say what the value of each box is. So in this case, probably only going to say one thing, because we're only going to have one item in the list or in the array to start off with. But it will perform a quick test that will essentially make sure that it's actually saving our location inside of it. So best thing I think we can do is actually test the test command.
Oh, so in the actual, outside the code builder?
Yes.
Okay, so if I click play...
So if we click that play button, or the start button...
Oh, it's weird going back to the real world.
So what we need to do to actually test that our command is working is press the letter T to begin with on the keyboard.
Brings up the chat prompt.
That will bring up the chat prompt. And what we need to type in here to start off with is that command that we made earlier, which is going to save our existing position. So again, for us, I believe it was save pos.
It was save pos with a capital P, wasn't it?
Save pos with a capital P. Hit enter.
Okay, it's not done anything.
It's not done anything, but that's generally okay, because all that command is meant to do is add a value to our empty array.
So it's done something in the background, we just can't see it.
It's done something in the background that we can't see. So we now need to test that it's actually done the thing that we want it to do. So I'm going to again open that chat command by pressing T on the keyboard, and I'm going to run the test command that I created a second ago. And I believe, Jack, it is outputting for you as well the coordinates that you are currently standing on.
Oh yeah, so yeah, hang on. If I enable coordinates, 1 second, I need to hide my screen to do that. Very inconvenient. If I settings, show coordinates.
There we are. So if we go back into the chat command, we can see that I should be at 368 70 40, which if I check that against my current position, I believe that is correct.
Yeah. So it knows my position. So if I go and do it again, save, pause, and then test. Oh, now it lists both positions. So it lists my first position and now my second position.
Absolutely.
I assume that's because it's added them to the end of the list.
Absolutely. So every time you run that command, our list is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're going to add more and more values to it. So again, starting from index 0, that first box has got a value of 0, and in that box is going to be the coordinates which Jack saved when he first ran the command. Then in box number 1 will be the second set of coordinates which Jack saved. This box number 2 will have the third set, etc, etc, etc. And we can save as many different positions as we like within this array. Of course, the problem with that is that we will need to remember exactly what position is stored within what box. Yeah. So if you do intend on saving multiple different locations, you might want to keep a note of what positions are in what box. Because as you'll see in a second, we can actually save multiple, multiple different positions. But it is important that you remember what's where.
I've saved about 6 now. If I run test again,
should see.
Yeah, it's listed out all 6 of the positions I went to.
Absolutely. So I think what's important now is that we actually specify a command which will allow us to warp or teleport to those locations that we have saved. Because currently all we're doing is we're creating an array, albeit it's a very helpful array because it allows us to save positions, but it doesn't let us do anything with that information. It's just an array of numbers. So what we now need to do is reopen the code builder again. So press C on the keyboard, and we will be taken back to that code that we were creating before. And what we now need to do is create another on-chat command block, which you should already have, I believe.
Yeah, I've got one floating around here.
So just kind of floating around. And again, we need to rename this something useful. We can call it warp. We can call it preferably not teleport, since that's a command which Minecraft uses already. Maybe call it something like warp or travel to or something.
I think warp has got a lot of history. Back in the day when you had Java Minecraft, a lot of server plugins would use the word warp.
There we are. So warp is probably a good way to do it. Now, at the moment, what's currently happening is, as I said, every single box within our array is given a specific value, and we need to be able to refer to all of those different locations that we've saved. So in this case, Jack has saved 6 different positions within his array, and each one of those is put inside of a specific box. Again, starting from 0, working its way up to the number of items that are in the array. So in this case, from 0 to 5, since Jack has saved 6 locations. And we now need to have a way of telling the chat command which one of those positions we want to travel to. And you might notice, Jack, that next to where you've specified your command name, there's like a plus inside of a circle.
Click that.
If we click on that, we should now see it says something like num1.
Yeah, it's made a new variable for me called num1.
Absolutely. So that is as Jack said, that's a new variable, and that's going to hold the value of the box number that we're referring to within our array. Now, what this command is going to do, of course, is it's going to teleport or warp us to one of those places that we've saved within our array. And from the player menu, we can see a block that says teleport to.
Yep, got it.
The fourth one down, I think. We're going to put that inside of that on chat command. Now, at the moment, what that block is doing is it's simply just teleporting us to location 000 in relation to the player. So that's not coordinates 000. That's the position of x0, y0, and z0 in relation to the player. So basically, pretty much, I think, Jack, where we're currently standing, right?
Yeah, so when it's got the squiggly tilde in front of each one, that means the location of your player's feet.
Yes.
So if you move around, that will still stay 0 because the position's kind of following your feet.
Yes. So at the moment, that's completely useless to us.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to teleport to my own feet.
No, exactly. So what we're going to do, we're going to switch that out with some code, which is going to essentially take us to the positions that we have stored within our array. So back in that arrays menu on the left.
Oh yeah, underneath advanced.
Underneath advanced, there is a block which is called list, and it just says get value at 0.
Oh, okay.
So get value at 0.
List get value at 0.
Yeah, and we're gonna take that and we're gonna put that where it's currently teleporting us to our feet. Now, what it's going to try and do is place the block inside of one of the zeros. What you want to make sure is that it is highlighting the entire block in yellow, so that you're actually teleporting to list get value at 0, not teleport to and then place it inside of that kind of green coloured block. We want it to be teleporting us to list get value at 0.
Yeah. So if you've done it correctly, there won't be any green block anymore.
No, it will completely have disappeared. Now, at the moment, that's teleporting us to list. And of course, list is no good because there's nothing in that list. It's completely empty. We need to change that to being
list of positions.
Absolutely. So we're going to change that to list of positions. And it currently says get value at 0. Now, what that's going to mean, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jack, is it's simply going to tell every time we run the warp command, it's going to just teleport us to whatever value is at index 0 of our list of positions.
Yeah, so if we leave that as 0, 0 is the position of the first item in the list.
Yes.
So it'll always take us to the first position, never to the second or third or so on.
So that means that we wouldn't be able to store multiple different values. Well, we would still be able to store several different items in our list.
But we won't be able to visit them.
We won't be able to visit them, exactly. We would only be able to visit the first item in the list. So we're going to change that so that we can actually tell Minecraft which item in the list we want to refer to. Now, I'm going to do that to begin with by going into the... we can start by actually specifying just the variable num1. Because the variable num1 in this case will be the index position of the list that we have produced of our locations. So, from that variables menu on the left, you should see, Jack, that a num1 variable has been created for us.
Yep, that's the badger.
We're going to drag that into where it currently says 0.
Yeah, so when we type warp in chat and we put a number after warp, it'll teleport us to the item in the list that is the number we specify.
Absolutely. Now, if this is confusing, if anybody is confused about it starting at 0 and not 1, if you want to, you can change where it says num1 and use a math operator, and you could say math take the second block down, which is minus, so 0 minus 0,
Mm-hmm.
and you can pop the num1 block inside of where the first 0 is.
So now it's num1 minus something.
Num1 minus something. Pop that back inside of that get value block.
Mm-hmm.
So that we now say list of positions get value at num1 minus, and we want to change the 0 to being a 1.
Okay.
So essentially now, if we type in warp 1, that will refer to the first item in our list, which is index 0. But if you're comfortable with just starting at 0, then you can just leave it as list of positions get value at num1, and then refer to the first item in the list as 0. But if you are confused and you think you'd prefer to start the values at 1, then you can just tell Minecraft that the number that you put in minus 1 is the position in the list that you are referring to.
Yeah, so I think, because computer scientists do start counting from 0, that's the confusion. I think doing it this method, by minusing the 1, it means that the number 1 is first, number 2 is second, number 3 is third. It lines up.
Absolutely.
Whereas computer scientists, we don't usually line those up. So we have 0 as first, 1 as second. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it can be a bit confusing. So this kind of takes away that element of confusion. But it's important to bear in mind that indexes within lists or arrays always start at 0. So the first item is always 0. So anyway, let's test to make sure that this actually works. Now, Jack, if you hit that play button, it is actually going to clear all of those positions that you saved before.
Oh, so I was running around for no reason.
For no reason. Because what will happen is it will create a new empty array for us. So we're going to, it's going to wipe all of those positions from before, essentially.
Shall we act this out, see if it works? So
absolutely.
Let's say I'm traveling the world looking for a nice spot to start my house, and I think, the top of this mountain, it's pretty good spot for a nice house, but I think I could do better. But I want to save my location just in case I find somewhere, just in case I don't find anywhere better and I want to come back. So I open up the chat, I type in save pos and press enter.
Excellent.
So it should now save that onto my list of locations.
It should, but you can perform, remember, the test command if you want to make sure that it's working.
Let's see if it saved that. Let's type in test. Yeah, it definitely saved it in the list.
Excellent, okay.
And it's the first item in the list.
It is. So the first item in the list, so index 0.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, if you open up the chat command again and type warp and space, followed by the number 1, which is of course referring to the first index in our list, in theory, you should teleport to where you've just saved.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, am I on top of the mountain? I am. Excellent.
You are.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Excellent.
So, that's that.
Shall I, just as a test, I'm going to add a new position, a new location. So I'm going to type save pause over here. And let's do test again to see. Yeah, it's saved 2 of them.
Save 2 of them, absolutely.
So if I warp space 1, that takes you to the mountain.
Excellent.
If I warp space 2, that takes me back down to my other location. Hello.
Excellent. Hello. So that has now generated a nice list of your favourite locations.
Marvellous. Well, thank you for showing me that algorithm.
No problem.
Because I'm a computer scientist and computer scientists just love meddling with things and taking things apart and just messing with them. Do you mind if I make a couple of changes to it?
Of course.
So, I really like just being able to go wherever I want to and save the location. But I'm always worried that it's not working. So, the first thing I think I'd like to add to this is to get it to sort of tell you when it's saved.
Mm-hmm.
So what I might do, if I press C to go back into the code builder, when we use the save pos command, I might add something in here that says you've saved your location or something like that.
That is a good idea.
So if I go player and say again, the say command, which is the third one down, I could save a smiley face, or I could say you've saved your location.
That sounds excellent.
Let's give that a go. So save pos. Yeah, it's telling me I've saved my location.
That's excellent.
I want to try something though. I mean that is all well and fine turning up in the left hand corner. You've saved your location, but I want to make that a bit more fancy.
Okay.
And I don't know whether this is going to work, but fingers crossed it does. I'm going to add in a special character that does different colours in Minecraft text.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to... oh dear. Oh, that's frozen. Oh, no. No.
Is it back?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's... I nearly shut down my computer.
That wouldn't have been ideal.
Oh, hang on, it's going a bit mad. Oh, I've messed up, Dan.
Oh no.
Okay, well, I'm on Windows. I'm gonna load up a program called Character Map, but you can also use this to find. You can also find it on Wikipedia or on the internet somewhere. And I'm gonna search for a symbol called section sign. And it looks like two S's stacked on top of each other. And I can't remember if we've done this before in on a live stream, but I think we have.
It rings a bell, but I'm not sure if it was in perhaps one of the Technoclubs.
Maybe. But anyway,
remember it.
I'm going to use this symbol and I'm going to copy it. Because you can't really find it on the keyboard. It's nowhere on the keyboard. You have to copy it from somewhere. And back in the code builder where I've got save pos, I'm going to paste it.
Might I interject briefly? I believe if you are using Minecraft on Mac, there is a key for it.
Is there?
Possibly. I think there is a key. Well, there's certainly a key on my MacBook keyboard, which has got that symbol on it.
Ooh, okay.
So if you are using a MacBook or a Apple Mac, that symbol is indeed on your keyboard already.
Oh, so it is. I feel a bit of a numpty because I've been using I've been searching Wikipedia to find it all this time, and it's there on the keyboard.
It's quite easily missed.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got the section sign. In Minecraft, you put a section sign plus a number, and that number tells the game what colour is going to be used for the text. So 1, I think, is blue. 2, I think, is orange. 3 is green. 4 is red.
Okay.
Let's try 2. So I've got section sign 2, you've saved your location. And if this works, and it's a big fingers crossed, because I've tried, it works on signs and it works on books. Don't know whether it works in the code builder. So let's click play and see. So I'm going to type in save pos.
Oh,
it does work.
it does work.
So now you saved your location is green.
Excellent.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm so happy that works. And then there's loads of these. They're called Minecraft formatting codes.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots about them on the Minecraft wiki and so on. And I know one is definitely blue, and I know 4 is definitely red, but they go all sorts. You get letters as well. I believe C might be a light red, but my favourite one is M.
Okay.
And M stands for magic. Because when I do M, and let's do save pos again. Oh, it didn't work.
So what was it meant to do?
I'll show you on a sign, actually. If I can find a sign. It was meant to be magic. No, is it not?
I'm not seeing. Oh.
Oh, no, it's K, isn't it? It's K. It's not M for magic, it's K for magic.
Ah.
Kind of. Yeah, it's K. It's not M, it's K.
Oh, I see. And I'm seeing a lot of
But of course, when you stop the sign, it sets it still.
Mhm.
But anyway, that was just a little aside. Let's go back into. Let's change that back to a nice colour, like 2. Let's finish off what I wanted to sort of. The important thing with whenever you copy a piece of code from the internet, or whenever you find a tutorial, or whenever you want to play around with some code that you find, it's always important to kind of mess with it and take it apart and play with it and so on.
But on an additional note as well, if you are using that in another piece of work, it is also important that you reference or cite where you've taken it from.
Exactly. No one. It's very mean to say, take someone else's code and say, yeah, I did this myself. No, it's very important to say, I borrowed this code from someone. That's their work, and I've made some changes, but it's mostly thanks to them.
Yes. So you can just pop in something like a web address link or the name of, along with maybe the name of the person who's produced it, something like that, as a way of saying, here's some code that I have found and I have, made some changes and I've got it to kind of fit within my program, but I have used this from somewhere. It's important. But again, that's another aside. Getting distracted.
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether I've got time to fit in the change I wanted to make. Yeah, I'm gonna make a small little change here. I'm gonna have it so that at the moment it stores our positions as a number.
Yes.
As an index, and that number can be a bit hard to remember. Unfortunately, we can't change that out to be a name just because of the way that the Minecraft code builder works.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do something that's just going to make it easier to remember. And what that is, I'm going to have it so that when I type save pos, I've got the option then to type something after it. And that will be the name of what I want to call this position.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then when it says you've saved your location, I'm going to change that out to say instead something like your house is in position 1, or your shed is in position 2, or your mine is in position 7.
Absolutely. That's a good idea.
Actually, no, it won't work. I've just had a nasty thought. It won't work, unfortunately. Because if I click plus here, it makes a new variable, but it only wants that variable to be a number.
Ah.
I can't type the name there, can I? I can only type a number.
You can only type a number, so I guess it would have to still refer to the index position of the array after all.
So hang on, let me undo all of that. No, it doesn't want to undo that. That's annoying. Let me rewrite that. What we'll do instead is we'll say your location has been saved at position blah.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we're going to do that is we're going to look at where in the list is the most recent thing that we've added.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get rid of this say for now, because we can always retype that. And instead, what I'm going to do is I am going to go player say. Now we're working with text, and if I put anything in this round oval, it will say just that. If I want it to say multiple things, I have to join those things together. So I'm going to scroll down to find the text option, which is in the Advanced tab.
And this is a process within computer science called concatenation.
Exactly. And I don't know why it's called concatenation, but if you can imagine, I was going to say something really horrible about gluing cats together.
Yeah, that's probably not the best way of putting it.
No, it's just like gluing two things together. It's called concatenation. But we've got join hello and world together. When you join those together, you get hello world rather than hello ... and world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get this join command. And in the first part, that's where I'm going to write with my section sign the little bit of your location has been saved at, and I'm going to be very careful here to include a space at the end.
Yes.
Because when you concatenate two things together, it doesn't automatically add a space, which is a bit inconvenient.
Mm.
So I'm going to have to make sure I put the space in myself. And now we need to find out the most recent position that we've saved. And to get that, there's a couple of ways about it. One way I'm fairly sure will cause an error. But the other way I think is going to be easier. And whatever we're doing, we're going to have to look inside the array.
Yes.
So let's go arrays. And unfortunately, and this is where it's very annoying, we've got a lovely block that will I'm trying to find where it is. We've got a lovely block that will get and remove the last value from the list and get and remove the first value of the list, but it's got an annoying bit in that it removes it. We don't want these to be removed. So there's no option to just get the last value from the list. So we either have to build our own version of this without the remove, or there's another one we can try where it's at the very bottom. It's called list find index of something. And what this does is it tells us the position of whatever we put in there, if it's inside the array, if it's inside the list. So list find index of, this is getting quite long, but first things first, let's change out list to be list of positions, and that error will disappear. And we want to find the index of the last thing we put in the list. Well, what was the last thing we put in the list? It was the player's world position. So let's find the index of the player's world position. So let's go player's world position. Hopefully that error will disappear. It has. I feel good about myself. So we're going to find the index of the last thing we put in. So fingers crossed this works. Let's do save pos. My location has been saved at -1. Not good. Let's try it again. My location has been saved at -1.
I found that one potential way of doing it it's not ideal, but it can work, is you can just remove the whole segment on the array altogether and just say join your location has been saved at, and then player world position. Now it's not the easy, it's a bit of a quick and not exactly the best way of doing it, but it does actually give you the position that you're currently standing on as you save that location within the array.
Exactly, yeah. So rather than reading it from the array, we can just instead pop the player world position in there. And I think I know why it was saying -1. It was because it wasn't finding the world position inside the array. And I'm not sure what causes that. I think the code that kind of makes the code builder work, the stuff that happens in the background that only the people who make Minecraft, Mojang, can see or know about. I think that secret code's doing something that doesn't quite work in that situation. But nevertheless, let's just have your location has been saved at player world position. So save pos. My location has been saved at 391.70.43. Let's save another location. And another location. And then let's test them. I've got 3 locations, and let's walk to location 2.
Oh,
and there we are.
Go.
It works.
Excellent stuff.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much all from us.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything else to cover. Of course, if you want to watch this, if you've managed to miss it, or actually, why would I say that? Because if you've missed it, you won't be hearing what I'm saying now. Anyway. Remember, you can always visit bit.ly/technoclubs, where we have our website. You can visit all of the details about the Monday Club, the Wednesday Club, past live streams, and also our brand new Watch Live page, which you can leave a little message for us to maybe read out on the next one. In any case, I believe that is it. We will be back some point in the future with more Minecraft education mods. I've got a excellent one where we can sort of make our own version of a mod called World Edit. But that'll wait for another time. And without further ado, from me and Dan.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night and see you next week.
See you later, everybody. Take care.